Hey, this is Jamey from Stonemeyer Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the cooperative game, or really the solo game, Under Falling Skies. I played it two-player co-op, and the game does say you can play with one or more players. I think it's designed for solo, but playing with two was a lot of fun. We kind of split up the dice and made decisions together instead of just playing in solo format. Uh, this is an alien invasion game where it's kind of like based off some of the very old Space Invaders arcade games where you have Space Invaders coming down towards Earth, and you are trying to use dice to stop the invasion. There's one mechanism there are actually a lot of mechanisms in this game that I really like. This isn't a style of cooperative game that I'm usually drawn to, like where you're just fighting against bad things that are happening. But this game does it really well, and I actually really enjoyed the puzzle. One mechanism that made me really enjoy that puzzle is that it is a dice placement game. So you're rolling these 5 dice, three gray dice and 2 white dice, and then you are placing those dice on spaces on the board, on the bottom of the board, on like the Earth section of the board. And when you do that, the number of the die has some impact on like the things that you're gaining, but it also impacts how far in that column the spaceship that's in that column will move towards you. And you don't want it to move far. And so even though higher numbers are generally great to roll in this game based on the benefits you get, that also means a higher number will mean that a spaceship, an invading spaceship will move towards Earth faster. It'll move, say, 6 spaces opposed to just 1 if you put a weaker die on one of those spaces. So I really like that. That's a great push and pull mechanism where the benefit is better, but the penalty is also worse based on the how high the die is, how high the number is. The little twist, though, that I thought was really clever to this, because I think that's a great mechanism right there, but to add a little twist to it, they could have just had 5 dice, 5 gray dice, or 5 white dice. But instead, they have these 2 white dice, and they're a little bit different because whenever you place a white die, right away, you must re-roll any of the dice that you haven't already placed. So if I place, say I have a gray die that works great for what I'm trying to do in a certain column. You have these different, I'll show you what I'm talking about with these columns, because you have different actions in different columns. Here's an example of this. 5 different columns, different actions in each. Say I place a gray die that I'm happy with. I do that. And then I have a couple white dice, a couple gray dice, and maybe I like some of the numbers that are on those dice. Maybe I don't like some of the numbers that are on those dice. And the choice becomes, when do I place a white die? Because I know when I place that white die, all of my other dice are going to be re-rolled. And I love that this can be used to your advantage, but it's also a shot in the dark. It may hurt you more than it helps you. This is really, really clever, I think. Just the timing of when you place those dice that force more randomness into the game. You have a ton of agency in the game. You know what dice have been rolled. You know what numbers you could place, and so you could place all 3 gray dice up front and have full agency with that. You know exactly what you're getting, but there's always going to be a little bit of lack of agency when you place the first white die, because at the very least there's another white die that you haven't placed, and at the very least you're going to re-roll that die. Just a really clever twist on that you have this random element. You roll these 5 dice at the beginning of each round, random element, and then you have full agency based on what you do with those dice until you place one of the white dice. And then there's a little chaos added to the middle of the turn. I think that's really, really clever. And I love that chaos can help the players. Like if you roll a bunch of 1s and you don't want 1s that turn, you might place a white die right away so you can re-roll a bunch of those dice and get something better. I love that there's that advantage, that positive element, but there's also the negative twist. You might re-roll into something that you don't want that's worse than what you already had. Really, really clever twist to Under Falling Skies and dice placement. Yeah, they're essentially workers. Love this puzzle, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you like these puzzle elements and you can think of other games that do that, or if you have a different favorite mechanism in Under Falling Skies, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks.